Pangolin, the armored wonder of the wild. Deep in the forests of Africa and Asia, a remarkable creature moves silently through the undergrowth, its body covered in overlapping scales that shimmer like ancient armor. The pangolin, often called a walking pine cone or artichoke with legs, represents one of nature's most extraordinary evolutionary achievements. This enigmatic mammal has captured the imagination of scientists and conservationists worldwide, not only for its unique appearance but also for its critical ecological role and its unfortunate status as the world's most trafficked mammal. A living fossil in modern times. Pangolins belong to the order Pholidota, which has remained relatively unchanged for millions of years. These ancient lineages have survived since the Paleocene epoch, making them living fossils that offer invaluable insights into mammalian evolution. The name pangolin derives from the Malay word penguling, meaning rolling up, which perfectly describes their primary defense mechanism. 8 species of pangolins exist today, divided between African and Asian populations. The 4 African species include the giant pangolin, ground pangolin, white-bellied pangolin, and black-bellied pangolin. Asia hosts the Chinese pangolin, Sunda pangolin, Indian pangolin, and Philippine pangolin. Each species has adapted to specific ecological niches, from the massive ground-dwelling giant pangolin that can weigh up to 73 pounds to the diminutive white-bellied pangolin that tips the scales at just 3 pounds. The marvel of keratin armor. What sets pangolins apart from all other mammals is their remarkable armor plating. Their bodies are covered in scales made of keratin, the same protein found in human fingernails and hair. These scales overlap like roof tiles, creating flexible yet impenetrable protection that covers everything except the pangolin's belly, inner legs and face. A single pangolin may have between 900 to 1,000 individual scales covering its body. The scales serve multiple purposes beyond protection. They can be raised or lowered to regulate body temperature, and their coloration provides excellent camouflage in natural habitats. Young pangolins are born with soft scales that harden within days, and throughout their lives, these scales continuously grow and are worn down through daily activities, much like our fingernails. When threatened, pangolins demonstrate their remarkable defensive capabilities by rolling into a tight, nearly impenetrable ball. This behavior transforms them into a living shield, with their razor-sharp tail scales positioned outward to deter predators. Even large carnivores like lions and leopards struggle to penetrate this natural armor, often giving up their attempts after unsuccessful tries. Anatomical adaptations for specialized living. Beyond their famous scales, pangolins possess numerous anatomical adaptations that make them supremely suited for their ant and termite-eating lifestyle. Their elongated skulls house powerful jaw muscles, though they lack teeth entirely. Instead, they rely on their extraordinarily long tongues to capture prey. A pangolin's tongue can extend up to 16 inches beyond its mouth tip, reaching deep into insect colonies to extract their preferred prey. This remarkable tongue is anchored not in the mouth but near the pelvis, allowing for its incredible length. The tongue is covered in sticky saliva produced by enormous salivary glands, making it an efficient tool for collecting thousands of insects in a single feeding session. Pangolins can consume up to 20,000 ants or termites daily, making them incredibly effective biological pest controllers. Their limbs are powerfully built for digging, with strong, curved claws that can tear through the hardest termite mounds and ant hills. The front claws are so large that pangolins must walk on their knuckles to avoid wearing them down on hard surfaces. Some species, particularly the African ground pangolin, are such proficient diggers that they can excavate burrows up to 11 feet deep and 16 feet long. Diverse lifestyles and habitats. Pangolin species exhibit remarkable diversity in their lifestyles and habitat preferences. Ground-dwelling species like the giant pangolin and ground pangolin are primarily terrestrial, spending most of their time foraging on the forest floor and sleeping in burrows. These species have developed powerful limbs and claws optimized for excavating underground retreats and accessing ground-level insect colonies. Arboreal species such as the white-bellied and black-bellied pangolins have evolved quite differently. They possess semi-prehensile tails that function as a fifth limb, allowing them to navigate tree branches with remarkable agility. Their claws are adapted for gripping bark and branches rather than heavy digging, and they often sleep in tree hollows or construct nests in the canopy. The Sunda pangolin represents an interesting middle ground, being semi-arboreal and equally comfortable on the ground or in trees. This adaptability has allowed it to exploit diverse food sources and habitats across Southeast Asia, though it has also made the species particularly vulnerable to habitat destruction. Reproduction and family life. Pangolin reproduction follows fascinating patterns that vary among species but generally involve long gestation periods and extended parental care. Most pangolin species have gestation periods ranging from 120 to 150 days, after which females typically give birth to one or two young, though single offspring are more common. Newborn pangolins are born with soft, pale scales and closed eyes, making them completely dependent on their mothers. The mother's dedication to her young is extraordinary. She will carry her baby on her back or tail for weeks, protecting it with her own body when threatened. If she rolls into a defensive ball, the young pangolin is safely tucked inside this natural fortress. Young pangolins nurse for approximately 3 to 4 months, though they begin accompanying their mothers on foraging trips much earlier. During these excursions, they learn essential survival skills including how to locate insect colonies, proper digging techniques, and predator avoidance strategies. The mother-offspring bond typically lasts for about 2 years, ensuring the young pangolin is fully equipped for independent survival. Ecological importance and environmental benefits. Pangolins play crucial ecological roles in their ecosystems, functioning as both predators and ecosystem engineers. Their voracious appetite for ants and termites makes them natural pest controllers, helping maintain the balance between insect populations and vegetation. A single pangolin can consume millions of insects annually, preventing these arthropods from reaching population levels that might damage agricultural crops or natural plant communities. Their digging activities serve important ecological functions as well. The extensive burrow systems created by ground-dwelling pangolins provide shelter for numerous other species, from small mammals and reptiles to various invertebrates. These burrows also contribute to soil aeration and water infiltration, improving overall soil health in their habitats. As they forage, pangolins inadvertently disperse seeds through their fur and feces, contributing to plant propagation and forest regeneration. Their selective feeding on certain ant and termite species can influence the structure of insect communities, indirectly affecting plant pollination patterns and decomposition processes. The crisis of conservation. Despite their ecological importance and remarkable adaptations, pangolins face an unprecedented conservation crisis that has earned them the tragic distinction of being the world's most trafficked mammal. All 8 pangolin species are listed on the IUCN Red List, with several classified as critically endangered. The primary threat to pangolin populations is the illegal wildlife trade, driven by demand for their scales and meat. In traditional medicine systems, particularly in some Asian countries, pangolin scales are erroneously believed to possess medicinal properties, despite being composed of the same keratin found in human fingernails. This has created a lucrative black market where pangolin scales can fetch enormous prices, making them more valuable per kilogram than gold. The meat trade represents another significant threat, with pangolin meat considered a delicacy in some regions. This demand has not only decimated Asian populations but has also shifted trafficking pressure to African species as Asian pangolins become increasingly rare. Between 2014 and 2018, authorities seized over 200 tons of pangolin scales and thousands of whole pangolins, representing potentially hundreds of thousands of individual animals. However, these seizures likely represent only a fraction of the actual trade volume, as most trafficking goes undetected. Habitat destruction and climate change. Beyond poaching and trafficking, pangolins face severe pressure from habitat loss and fragmentation. Deforestation for agriculture, urban development, and infrastructure projects has significantly reduced suitable pangolin habitat across Africa and Asia. Palm oil plantations, in particular, have destroyed vast areas of Southeast Asian forests that were home to the Sunda and Philippine pangolins. Climate change poses additional challenges, potentially altering the distribution and abundance of ant and termite species that pangolins depend upon. Changes in precipitation patterns and temperature regimes could disrupt the delicate balance between pangolins and their prey species, forcing these specialized feeders to adapt to new conditions or face local extinctions. The fragmentation of remaining habitats creates isolated populations that are more vulnerable to local extinctions and genetic bottlenecks. Small, isolated populations are also more susceptible to disease outbreaks and natural disasters, reducing their long-term viability. Conservation efforts and international cooperation. Recognizing the urgent need for action, the international community has implemented various measures to protect pangolins. In 2016, all 8 pangolin species were listed under Appendix I of the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species (CITES), providing the highest level of international trade protection. This listing prohibits all international commercial trade in pangolins and their parts. Numerous organizations worldwide are working to combat pangolin trafficking through various approaches. Anti-poaching units patrol protected areas, while specialized sniffer dogs are trained to detect pangolin products at ports and airports. Intelligence networks work to track trafficking routes and identify major dealers in the illegal trade. Education and awareness campaigns aim to reduce demand for pangolin products by informing consumers about the species' conservation status and the lack of scientific evidence for medicinal properties of pangolin scales. These efforts are particularly important in countries where traditional medicine practices drive demand. Research and scientific discoveries. Scientific research on pangolins has accelerated in recent years as researchers race to understand these enigmatic animals before it's too late. Studies using GPS tracking collars have revealed important information about pangolin movement patterns, home range sizes, and habitat preferences. This data is crucial for developing effective protected area designs and corridor connections. Genetic studies have provided insights into pangolin evolution and population structure, helping conservationists identify distinct populations that may require separate management strategies. These studies have also revealed the full extent of genetic diversity loss due to population declines. Recent research has focused on pangolin behavior, diet, and ecology, filling important knowledge gaps that have historically hampered conservation efforts. Camera trap studies have provided unprecedented glimpses into wild pangolin behavior, while isotope analysis of scales has revealed detailed information about their diets and habitat use. The future of pangolin conservation. The future of pangolins depends on immediate and sustained conservation action across multiple fronts. Strengthening law enforcement efforts and international cooperation is essential to reduce trafficking pressure. This includes improving detection methods, increasing penalties for wildlife crimes, and addressing corruption that enables the illegal trade. Habitat protection and restoration must be prioritized in pangolin range countries. This involves establishing new protected areas, improving management of existing reserves, and creating habitat corridors to connect fragmented populations. Community-based conservation programs that provide alternative livelihoods for local people can reduce pressure on pangolin populations while improving local economic conditions. Captive breeding programs are being developed as potential safety nets for the most endangered species, though pangolins' specialized dietary requirements and stress sensitivity make breeding programs extremely challenging. Success in these programs could provide insurance populations and potentially support future reintroduction efforts. Conclusion: a call for action. The pangolin story represents both the wonder of evolutionary adaptation and the tragedy of human-driven extinction. These remarkable animals have survived for millions of years, weathering ice ages and continental drift, only to face their greatest challenge from human activities in the 21st century. The conservation of pangolins requires unprecedented global cooperation, combining strict law enforcement, habitat protection, community engagement, and consumer education. Every seized shipment of scales, every protected forest, and every person who chooses not to purchase pangolin products represents hope for these armored wonders. As we work to secure a future for pangolins, we are also protecting the integrity of ecosystems that depend on their ecological services. The survival of pangolins is intrinsically linked to the health of the forests and grasslands they call home, making their conservation a priority not just for the species themselves, but for the countless other organisms that share their habitats. The pangolin's ancient armor has protected it through millions of years of natural challenges, but against the modern threats of poaching and habitat destruction, it needs our protection. The choice to save these remarkable creatures rests with humanity, and the time for action is now. In preserving pangolins, we preserve one of nature's most extraordinary evolutionary achievements and maintain the delicate balance of ecosystems that have sustained life on Earth for millennia.